back to the 815 Exchange. I am your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live once again from the 336 for another episode of the 815 Exchange, episode 21. Plenty to talk about. A lot of stuff happened in entertainment and music this week. A lot of stuff happened outside of that platform in football and basketball. So, without further ado, we're going to get straight to it. And let's start off with some college football. Not much to talk about in terms of game-wise, but a lot of stuff upcoming as we do have the New Year's Six coming up. And, of course, with the New Year's Six coming up, that means we do, in fact, have the college football playoff. And I know I did my predictions last week about the college football playoff. And if you haven't already, go back and watch that episode. Go back and watch the previous episodes. If you want to follow me on social media, I talk pretty frequently about these topics on Twitter. That's in the description. Timestamps as always. Of course, always in the description. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. All that stuff out of the way. But yes, I made my predictions last week. I said Clemson, Alabama are clearly pretty much a step above everybody. I'm going to hold by that. I think Alabama pretty much dominates Notre Dame. I don't really think they have anything for them. Same thing. I think the Clemson-Ohio State game will be closer. Because, I mean, that game tends to always, except for when it's not, hence 31-3. I believe that was the score, the second to last time? The time before the last year's classic. Possibly the best playoff game we've had. Or one of them. Up there with, like, the Rose Bowls. I think Oklahoma and Georgia played. That Ohio State-Clemson game from last year was a classic, an instant classic. NCAA football, 14-13. By the way, bring back that game series. We need that game series back. Type instant classic. I don't know if that game will be as exciting this year. But I expect another pretty hard-fought, pretty close game. Plenty of stuff being thrown back and forth between those two. So definitely not a lack of motivation. However, I do, in fact, have Clemson going through. Now, the actual games that did get played, we did have some bowl games as it is bowl season, featuring some pretty prominent players and pretty prominent teams. I'm going to highlight first the Liberty-Coastal Carolina game. Coastal Carolina walking in undefeated. Liberty had only had one loss. You could argue they should be ranked. They are currently unranked. I think they'll be ranked after this game. They get the win 37-34, go back-to-back as Cure Bowl champions. Malik Willis with 357 total. 4 touchdowns all through the ground, though. Had 2 interceptions, but great season from Willis. Transfer from Auburn really came in there. Was a big reason why Liberty was as good as they were this year. Blocked field goal at the end for Coastal Carolina. I feel like I have a curse. I haven't watched. I told my father this yesterday. I have not seen a made field goal in about 2.5 weeks. Every time I'm watching it, whether it's on Red Zone or I'm watching a game, college, NFL, whatever, every time I'm watching a game, missed field goal. Every single time. I can't remember. I've seen made extra points. But I don't remember the last time I saw made field goal. And of course, maybe it was my fault, in some mystic way. I tune into the game late here for Coastal Carolina, and it gets blocked. They lose their undefeated season. Though, great season for Grayson McCall, great season for Coastal. They locked up their coach for another, I think, 3 years. So we'll see if Coastal can maintain the success. It would be very fun to see. Hopefully, there's something done about the playoff. I say it every week, 18 playoff, we need it. I've said it probably in over half of these episodes so far on the 815 Exchange. But hopefully we can keep the group of 5 teams, improving in quality and maintain some success so they can eventually, hopefully, be able to get some playoff conversation and some opportunities to play in the playoff and play for national championships. Now let's talk about BYU. They took out UCF 49-23, but really if we're talking about BYU, though BYU had a great team this year, we're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Zach Wilson. 26 for 34, 425, 3 touchdowns. Some people talking about maybe he could go second overall. I'll get to the NFL situation later on in the podcast and the draft situation there. A lot of people are talking about whether he might jump Justin Fields as the number 2 quarterback. I cannot wait to do draft evaluation on these prospects for this draft, and especially at the quarterback position, because there's so many good quarterbacks, and Wilson, one of the best. What a year he's had. Came pretty much out of nowhere and just completely. A lot of people compared it to Joe Burrow's rise up the draft boards last year, and I do see some similarities there. Of course, not as dramatic as LSU was the number 1 team. That LSU team was one of the best teams possibly ever. And Joe had, statistically speaking, the best quarterbacking season of all time. You could argue one of the best seasons for a player ever, if not the best. But yeah, Wilson, he's a great quarterback. He's going to have a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams that do need quarterbacks, and there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks that ain't selected in the first round. And Wilson is definitely going to be one of the top ones coming off the board. I could see him easily jumping Trey Lance, who was, I guess, the 3rd cutting in. I could see him have already jumped Trey Lance, and I could definitely see some conversation there with him and Justin Fields. We'll see how Fields plays against Clemson. That's going to determine a lot of his draft stock. But off of that, that's what we got here. Staying on the college-type beat as I transition away from college football, we have college basketball. And, it's been the Gonzaga show so far. Gonzaga is still the number 1 team in the nation. Just come off a win against Virginia. Corey Kispert. So many good players for that Gonzaga team. Kispert, who had 32, I think that was a career high for him against Virginia the other day. Jalen Suggs, as we talked about many times, and we will be talking about many times throughout the season, one of the top freshmen in the country, one of the top draft prospects on the planet. Drew Timme, Jay Ayayi, as we talked about last week. Like, so many great players on that Gonzaga team. If we can maintain and the tournament goes on, I could definitely see them in talks. I could see them making some noise, and I could definitely see them being the favorite to win the national championship, finally getting that for Gonzaga, because bar Baylor, I think they're looking like pretty much the best team in the country, and I think I would take them over Baylor right now. Of course, that matchup, we'll see when it happens. I think it's pretty much destined to happen. It's supposed to happen earlier in the season, but of course, Kobe got in the way. Hopefully, they can get that one in, because college basketball fans, we need it. Basketball fans, we need it. It's going to be a good one. Jared Butler and Baylor, a lot of great players they have. But Gonzaga proving why they're the number 1 team up to this point. Special shout out I have to give to Houston. I think they're at number 6 right now in the country. Q Grimes, transfer from Kansas, I think he was the top shooting guard coming out of high school, 5-star, top 10 player. He's living up to that label right now at Houston, transferred away from Kansas. Grimes has been phenomenal for them, 18 points a game, making a difference. And that Houston team has looked very good. From when I've gotten to see them, the little bits and pieces, haven't done a full game, but gotten to see some quarters, some action. Houston's look good. I think it's going to be a very interesting year in college basketball, especially with what I'm about to transition into talking about. In terms of the Blue Bloods not really playing up to the Blue Blood standards, you've got a lot of teams that have been maybe overshadowed by them in previous years. They have really good teams this year, and they're starting to overshadow those Blue Bloods, proving that they're better teams, at least this year in this situation. They've adapted better and have better chemistry, and they're just playing overall better. I think Houston is one of those teams. We'll see how they go. We'll see if Grimes can continue his high level of play, continue to rise up those draft boards. Like I said, Blue Bloods. Of course, I've talked about Duke. Right now, I'm going to talk about Carolina, who just lost to NC State. A special shout out to my guy Shaquille Moore. Go way back with him. Knew he was a special player, and he's been a special player. Actually, shout out to both of the 336 natives for that NC State team. Both of the star freshmen. Him and Cam Hayes. Shaq and Cam Hayes have been phenomenal for State so far. Shaq, of course, having a big game and being a big reason why State knocked off UNC this past week. Highlight reel dunk, but, if you know Shaq, you're used to that if you've seen him before. But yeah, shout out to them. But like I was saying with Blue Bloods, they're non-existent this year. I don't know. There's just I don't know if it's a 2020 bug or what it is, but the Blue Bloods are faltering in a big, big, big way this year. Kentucky is 1-6 or 1-7. Yeah, they've lost some close games, but it's shocking. This is the worst record since World War One. World War One, not World War Two. We're talking World War One, which was like the 1910s. I think they said 1919 is when the last time they started 1-6 or 1-7. UK is bad right now. I talked about this 2 weeks ago. I said they were bad, but it's really, really bad right now. BJ Boston has not been as advertised. T. Clark has been okay. Cameron Fletcher is extremely frustrated. He was crying on the bench, I think, 2 games ago. Frustrated about his playing time. I've heard Deontay Allen's not getting the game time. Oliver Sarr has not lived up to expectations. Just a lot of people not living up to those expectations. I was a little worried, not so much about the freshmen, but about some of those transfers for Kentucky, and it seems like I was correct, because Kentucky has struggled up to this point, and I don't know when it's going to get better. Cal said he was calling himself a fool for creating the schedule, but I mean, sometimes, in past years Kentucky has struggled at the beginning of the year, but they haven't struggled this much, and I think that's a lot of room for concern. For the rest of the Blue Bloods, like Duke, like Carolina, I think it's just going to be a rocky year. I don't know if it's going to be as bad as Kentucky, but it's going to be not the usual expectation of play. Injuries already hitting Duke. Jalen Johnson out right now with the foot injury, and he's our best player. So it's going to be a very interesting year for the Blue Bloods. In the Big Ten, it's also going to be a very interesting year. It's been an absolute bloodbath so far in the Big Ten. They got a lot of good teams. Wisconsin beat Michigan State this past week. Minnesota upset Iowa and Luka Garza, who has continued to look like the best player possibly in the country. But still, Minnesota was able to get that win. But yeah, the Big Ten looking very interesting if you're looking for chaos and a lot of good games, a lot of good teams, a lot of unexpected. The Big Ten so far has absolutely brung the excitement. Okay, next on the docket, let's see. Okay, I've been waiting, and this may have been part of the reason why you clicked on this video, besides you just watch every episode. Music and film. What a week in music and film. I have plenty to talk about from the entertainment biz this week. Plenty. Should we start off with music or film? Music or film? We'll start off with music, and we'll start off with the headliner. I'll get straight to it. I'll cut to the chase. You may have skipped here already, in the video, use the timestamp. I'm going to skip right to it. It was the album of the week, the big news of the week. Playboy Carti has returned from his 2-year absence and finally dropped Whole Lotta Red. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, give it all for Carti. He took a break from being a deadbeat father and decided to finally drop the album. Iggy has been unloading the clips since the album dropped. If you don't follow that, apparently Carti's parenting skills haven't been great, is how I'll frame it. I won't get into that because we're here to talk about the music. And I'm going to preface this, of course, I'm going to give my review. I listened to the whole album. There's a bunch of discussion about it. Little background, because I want to give this the most objective review possible about this album, because it's very polarizing currently. I am not some major Playboy Carti fan. I never have. Probably never will be. I did like Die-Lit like every other human, of course, on the planet, and I have liked some of Carti's past stuff. I guess I'm a little bit of a fan, but I'm not like some stan major Carti. I need to listen to him 24/7. He's the best ever. No. Also, I'm not a big Playboy Carti hater. I Like, I'm fine with Carti. I don't have really any problem with, his style or musical direction or, who he is. Don't really have anything against him. So I feel like I'm in a good place to make a very objective, straightforward, no bias, a non-biased evaluation of this album because I have no allegiances other way. And to tell you the truth, it's not a perfect 10. Whole Lot of Red is absolutely not a perfect 10 like some people on one side of the spectrum have claimed. It is absolutely not by any means a perfect 10 album. It's also not the worst thing you will ever hear in your life. It's not the worst rap album I've ever heard in my life. It's not the worst album I've ever heard in my life. It's not like a 0 out of 10. This is terrible. It's not that. It's not either one of those. And let's get to it. Let's talk. 24 songs. I've said this before. I forget which artist I said this about. 24 songs on an album is extremely difficult to pull off. It is extremely difficult to pull off. Props to him props to Carti for trying. But like I said before, unless you are like one of the top artists in the world, I'm talking like one of the best selling artists in the world. I'm talking like Drake, Taylor Swift, like whoever. Like you're the top of the game. I would highly advise against a straight up 24 song album. Because it is very, 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 very unlikely that you are going to pull off a 24 song album and it's going to be front to back. It's going to be good. It's going to be heat, song after song after song. It's not going to happen. And it didn't happen in this case. So I would have trimmed some of the fat that may have raised my opinion and quality of this album. If some of the filler and some, because it had some songs that I don't need to ever hear again in my life. There are some songs I listen to and I literally texted into the group chat. I said, I do not ever need to hear this song again in my life. That is how bad the song was. Some of these songs on here were just, they were trash. It was a whole lot of trash. Or a whole lot of mid. But on the flip side, there were also a lot of songs on here. As a result of it being 24 songs, you have this mixture of songs that were complete trash. Carti, why did you put this on here instead of a song that you might end up, I guess, putting on the deluxe that he's talking about? But you also had these songs that were very good and that people liked and that I enjoyed and that were playlist worthy. So you had this weird mix because of how long it was. But yeah, I mean, also, I gotta give him credit, like I kind of said earlier. I know some people were kind of arguing about this. I do have to give him credit for his trying to branch out and show a little bit of versatility. I think that's very important in people becoming the best artists and artists becoming the best versions of themselves. And if they want to continue to grow towards being the best or at the top of your medium, your genre, whatever, you have to be able to show versatility. And I think Carti was attempting that. So I have to give him props. Some areas it worked, some areas it didn't. That's how it is sometimes. But album review, the 1 to 10 scale as always. At first it felt like it was a whole lot of mid. I was ready to call this whole lot of mid. That was probably going to be the title. After first listen, I was like, well, when I got to that first half, I was like, oh my goodness. This is actually disappointing. This is terrible. But then that second half was very, very strong. The second half of the album is the best part. So if you wanted to skip, if you break the album in half and you listen to the second half, you'll probably enjoy it much more than that first half. There seemed to be a little bit of a switch in quality after the song Slayer in particular kind of ticked up there. With that said, I was very ready to give this album a 5. Off of first impression, I hadn't finished it yet. I was like, this is dead, like, in the middle. This is a perfectly average or a mid album. Then that second half, it rose up to the 6s. And now I'm going to give my official score of It's a 7.2. It's not like I think that it's not a bad album, but it's not a great album. But I think that second half is good enough to where it's not in the middle. It's enjoyable, especially I guess if you're a Carti fan and you're like a mega Carti fan, you'll definitely enjoy it. But if you're not a Carti fan, there'll be some things you may find interesting or you may like, but there's going to be a lot of stuff you're like, you don't really care about or you do not like. I think that's just kind of my evaluation of the album. It's going to be polarizing. It was probably always going to be polarizing with all the anticipation and the expectations placed upon it. So I think a 7.2 is pretty fair. That's just kind of my straight. Have no biases either way. 7.2. It's not bad. That's above average, but it's not anything special. It's not some world groundbreaking revolutionary album. It's not, and that's okay. For someone in a situation like me, now maybe you had higher expectations, so it's a little disappointing. But it is what it is. You got some good songs. There's a deluxe coming, so you may enjoy that. But that's a whole lot of red. It wasn't a whole lot of bad. It wasn't a whole lot of good. It was just a whole lot of. It was okay. It was all right. A little bit better, you could say, than okay and all right. A whole lot above average. You know, nothing too special though. 7.2. I think that's pretty fair. All right. Let's see. Tory Lanez dropped what he's calling like capsules, and once again, I've done you the service of listening to it. For those of you that are not in good graces because of current allegations dealing with Tory Lanez, I've listened to it, so you don't have to listen to it. Loner. Let's see. It wasn't too long. I think it was only like around 10 songs, around that 10 song mark, which is nice. I guess it's a capsule, so it's something nice and quick or whatever. I did not like it as much as I liked the new Toronto 3, which I think is the benchmark of his project so far this year. I really like the new Toronto 3. And whatever the whole Meg situation is, so I forget what the album title for that was. It's about on the same level-ish as that one. It kind of flips for me depending on mood, whether I have that one higher or this one lower. I mean, again, a year from now, this could all not matter if Tory is convicted and he actually turns out he did shoot Meg. Of course, none of this is all matter because that means he's a bozo and who cares about his music. But objectively speaking, yeah, Tory Loner. Can't really think of a standout track off the top of my head. I've only listened to it once. Needs to get to that second one. But yeah, Tory makes good music. He's very talented. I think that's pretty much agreeable. Very talented artist, but of course, situation looming over him right now kind of affects people's opinion and my opinion right now of how to feel about his music, because it's gonna be a big determinant. But it was a good album. It was a good little capsule or mixtape, whatever you want to call it. It was very good. I don't say very good. It was good. I'm gonna give it. I've been kind of battling what I want to give this. I'm gonna give it an 8.2. I gave Carti a 7.2. I'm gonna give this an 8.2. It's about a point higher. It's not my favorite thing Tory's dropped, but it was good. Shout out to VVS Ken. He had a lot of good verses on this. A lot of good. I'll probably be interested in seeing more of his stuff. He did his thing on the entire project. He was featured a couple times. He's one of Tory's artists under Tory's label. But yeah, good stuff from Tory. Of course, Lil Durk dropped The Voice. Dropped it the day before. Normally things drop Thursday night or midnight on Friday. Well, I guess Friday morning. Whatever you want to call it. The midnight of Thursday, right? Between Thursday and Friday. New Music Friday. That's why they call it that. But Durk, for some reason, dropped the day before. That midnight, I don't know if he was trying to avoid some stuff. Whatever. Anyways, Durk drops The Voice. I made this one go last behind Tory and Whole Lotta Red because this was the best album I heard this week. I feel pretty comfortable giving it a 9. I feel pretty comfortable giving it a 9. A solid 9. It was very good. Durk has really started to evolve his sound. We've gotten a little bit. It's had a fairly good mix, I think, of the rapping, which we love from Durk, and we also got the melodic stuff. Had a good mix. Had some good features. Still trapping feats. Rest in peace, King Von, who was also on the album cover, which is probably right here. That was my standout track so far. We'll see if that changes. But Durk dropped the voice. It was very good. Lived up to my expectations of it. I had pretty high expectations. And yeah, that's a 9. That's a 9, highest of the week. One of the highest I think I've given out so far. So if you haven't already, highly recommend it. Very good if you're into that type of music, you're into the rap space. Or if you listened to Durk before, you probably already heard it. But if you haven't, definitely go look it out. Definitely go check it out. Let's see. Okay, and now let's get to the movies. Talked about the music, talked about Tory, talked about Carti, talked about Durk. 9, 8.2, 7.2, respectively. In reverse order, that is. Let's talk about movies. Because I finally got around to watching some films this week. Tenet. I finally got around to watching Tenet. Which was found kind of ironic because Chris Nolan, who hates the idea, which is the reason why I was able to watch the film I will talk about later, because of the whole HBO Max and the whole Warner Bros. Docket going on there. So kind of ironic that I got to watch Tenet this week. But Tenet. How do I describe this movie? It's a good movie in the sense that the acting was great. J.D. Dub, Rob Pat, everybody did a great job, right? It was filmed beautifully, a lot of good cutscenes, interesting content. It's a good, fundamentally, it's a good film. But I also would compare Tenet to watching a foreign film that you know is good. Like it's a movie from a different country that you know is good, but you do not have the subtitles for. There's no subtitles for. So you don't understand exactly what is going on or what is being said, but you can see that it's a good movie that you're watching, but you just can't understand anything. That is what Tenet is. They throw you right in. They throw you right into what's happening. Spoilers, of course, if you haven't watched Tenet. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. For this next part, turns out they don't really use too much of the trailer scene where he's like picking up the bullet. That doesn't really have too much emphasis actually in the movie, which was kind of disappointing. I kind of wish they had done some more with that. Could have gotten some more cool set pieces out of that. But anyways, interesting concept, but the execution was kind of questionable. Also, the sound mixing. I know it was somewhat of a deliberate choice to add to the realism and get you more in the world, but come on, like, it's a movie. We trying to understand what's going on. It's already difficult to understand the concept and exactly what's happening in the movie, and then the sound mixing did not make it better. So that's why I compare it to a foreign film that you have no subtitles for. Because it was not only hard to understand from the audio portion, though it wasn't too bad for me as it was for others, just the actual dialogue and what was the dialogue trying to match what was happening, and there really being no explanation about what was happening. It just kind of made it for a very confusing film. So I had to pull up Wikipedia. I'm not going to lie. I pulled up Wikipedia plot. I would watch some. I would read Wikipedia to help confirm my opinions or thoughts about what. And that made my view experience better. But that's what kind of contributed there, in my understanding. So if you watch it, I would kind of advise you doing that. Watch a little bit. Read that Wikipedia plot on what that is up to a certain point so you don't spoil yourself. And then go back and watch the rest of the movie, and then keep doing that throughout. But yeah, Tenet. Again, interesting, cool concept. Very well acted. Elizabeth Debicki, J.D. Dub, Rob Pat, the guy that played the villain, did phenomenal jobs. Phenomenal jobs, right? Beautiful looking movie. But the execution and just the, like, I can understand a movie being, kind of a mind, and all that stuff, and just kind of playing with your, playing mind games with you, right? Used to that. Seen them before from Nolan. But this was just, it was a whole nother level. Honestly, it was just a whole nother level. If I had to give a 1 to 10, I had to keep doing the 1 to 10 scale, I would give Tenet like a 7.8 to maybe like a 8 max. So maybe somewhere in that range, 7.8, 7.98, depending on how I'm feeling. It's a good film, but good luck trying to understand it. The second film I watched this week was Wonder Woman 84, highly anticipated superhero film. The next in the long slate of upcoming films DC apparently has coming for us. And the first of the HBO Max Warner Bros. Movies to come out. Same day theaters, same day it comes out on the app. You can watch for no extra cost as long as you're paying that monthly fee. So, Wonder Woman 84. A very polarizing movie so far, from what I've seen. Honestly, it's kind of the whole lot of red of movies right now, when I think about it. Same layoff pretty much, in between movies. Expectations of it will live up to its predecessor and improve upon the things that the predecessor maybe didn't do correctly. But when it came out, you either had super fans that thought it was the best thing they've ever seen, or you had people that weren't really fans that thought this is the biggest load of crap I've ever seen. So, and I've even seen it in person, not just like random people, even friends I have and family members that are either on this is hot garbage or this was kind of good. Me personally, what I thought, honestly, I can't lie. I did not like this movie. I can't. I wanted to like this movie so bad. I really did. I really did want to like this movie. Because I liked the first one, besides the third act being kind of rushed. But the first Wonder Woman movie was great. Wonder Woman 84 was... It's just so much that... I just want to talk to whoever wrote the script. I just want to talk. I don't want to have to resort to violence. But I just want to talk. Because there was an insane amount of plot holes. And listen, I get it. It's especially if it's a superhero film. But really all films. I'm okay with suspending my belief. And suspending, my mind to, okay, it's a movie, right? This is entertainment. This is trying to entertain me. Let's not think too much about this. And I especially needed to clean my palate after Tenet tried to make me overthink everything and try to basically figure out the movie yourself. And even then, you still might not understand what exactly is going on in the movie. So I needed a palate cleanser. This could have been the most predictable movie of all time. Which it kind of was, because I started predicting things before it happened while I was watching. But I was all for that. But the plot of this movie was so all over the place. So predictable at some times. And so just confusing on why certain characters would make such decisions. Like, spoiler alert, of course, because I'm about to get into the plot for this part. Why was Diana nerfed all of a sudden against Cheetah? Why did Steve being back hurt her and make her powers worse and hurt Max, but it didn't hurt Cheetah at all? It made Cheetah somehow on Wonder Woman's level, and if you're a comic book fan, when has Cheetah ever been on Wonder Woman's level? She legitimately was washing Diana in the middle of this movie. And then just how it ended, and then the unbreakable armor that immediately gets broke. And then what was the point of the wings besides just a cool set piece? And then Diana can't fly. It was like... And I guess if you're invisible, you can just glide. You know it. And then how come they were able to just fly across? There's so many things. There's so many things with this movie that are so questionable and make you question why certain decisions were made. It was such a frustrating movie to watch. Again, watch it. I mean, there's nothing else to watch, so you might as well, go ahead. Especially if you're a superhero movie fan, sure, why not? You go form your own opinion. But honestly, this movie was so disappointing. It was so disappointing. Like, there's so much. If there's even more, maybe even double, triple more that I could have said, plot-wise, that was just so dumbfounding. Of why, who wrote this? Did Patty write this? No, shout out to Chris, and even though it wasn't Gal's finest, I mean, shout out to them. Even Kristen Wiig, I mean, it wasn't bad acting. Pedro Pascal, he's had a great month with The Mandalorian. Had another film, I think all dropped on the same day or whatever. So shout out to Pascal. I mean, they did fine, good in some of situations, but would not recommend Wonder Woman 84. That movie was, if I'm being generous, it was a 5. I'm going to be generous and give it a 5. Out of respect for the actors, out of respect for Wonder Woman the character, out of respect for the fact that I want to like it, I'm going to be generous, very generous, by giving it a 5. It's probably lower than that, which makes it one of the worst movies I've seen this year, unfortunately. Now, with the little bit of time I have left here, before I get to the NFL, we'll talk about, I like how I kind of paired that up. Had the college sports, music, entertainment, now we're having professional sports. We're going to hop into the NBA. The NBA season is here. I just about bit my tongue. The NBA season is here, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, basketball fans everywhere, rejoice. Of course, we had the lauded Christmas Day games, and they were terrible. Literally, every single one of them are blowouts. Not a single close or interesting Christmas game. I thought the Bucks slaughtering the Warriors. And let's talk about the Warriors. Let's talk about it. Damian Lee, shout out to him. Saw Seidel Curry's reaction to the game winner yesterday. So, big ups to him. Big ups to Steph for trying to carry that team with Klay's ACL now being gone. James Wiseman's played well for the Warriors. He's looked very good as his rookie. We'll talk about his rookie class. Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins are they're terrible. They're terrible. There's no really other way to put it. They're terrible. Wiggins and Oubre have been awful. They cannot shoot a lick. And Oubre's defense does not make up for the fact that he is shooting like 0 for 30. Besides non-dunks. Shooting awful. I'm talking worse than Pandemic P. I'm talking worse than LaMelo in Australia shooting splits. I'm talking, we might be in the teens. Or it might be single digits how bad they're shooting. If you combine it, it's probably still as bad. Because Wiggins, everybody was like, oh, Wiggins isn't that bad of a player. He's averaging 20 points. Wiggins is not that good. He simultaneously can be underrated and overrated at the same time. He's currently very overrated, and he's not even rated that highly. Wiggins is bad. He's not an efficient scorer at all. It's disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful, that we once crowned this man Maple Jordan. Absolutely disgraceful to the Maple Jordan nickname, which is now kind of being tarnished by RJ Barrett, depending on if you've got good RJ, which shoots perfect from the field in the first game of the season, or bad RJ, who shoots 2 for 15. Anyways, Warriors are a mess. I thought that Bucks slaughter was going to be the biggest blowout of the week. But the Clippers, the meme team, baby. The meme team. Nobody memes or falls out or gives Twitter and the rest of social media in the world more to laugh about right now than the Los Angeles Clippers. So I thank you. They played the Mavericks yesterday, and the score was 77-27 at halftime. If the Mavericks played defense and didn't score the entire second half, they still would have won the game. They won the game by 51. By 51 against the Clippers, even though they didn't have Kawhi. You still, by any means, should not be getting beat by 51 points. You couldn't even outscore them over one half of them playing basketball. Over a whole game, you couldn't outscore them. They scored 73 points, I believe. I think it was 124. It was 73. I think the final score was. Absolute murder. Absolute murder. It was like they trotted high school kids out there. It's like they pulled the high school, the McDonald's All-American game. They pulled one of the East or West teams. They put them out there against the NBA team, and this is what happened. That's what watching that game felt like. So, just a dreadful game for them. Lakers have looked very good. Them and the Nets have looked like the two best teams. I think everybody's pretty much gone on record. Lakers looking good, shooting looking good. The new incomers, Trez look good. Schroeder's look great. So good stuff from the Lakers. Hornets. Besides Rozier popping off so far this season, LaMelo's on the bench. He might be there for a while, if I'm being honest. Said this to a couple different people. He might not be getting off that bench until he's forced, to sell tickets, because he hasn't really proved it. Though he did play a pretty good game, I do give credit where credit is due. LaMelo did play a good game yesterday. One of the best games I've seen him play, including preseason. That first game was dreadful. Absolutely dreadful for him. But improvement. We'll see how he plays over the season. Hornets knocked off the Nets, which is kind of why I did this transition. But continue on this rookie class. I've talked about Wiseman. I've talked about Melo. Let's talk about the first pick. Anthony Edwards has been a revelation for the Timberwolves. They love him. All the discussion about, him not loving basketball. Apparently he loves it enough to be very good at it. Because Anthony Edwards has been balling. He's lived up to the Anthony Edwards expectation and moniker of him being the #1 overall pick and what we expected him to be coming out of high school. Ant-Man has been that. He's played great for Minnesota so far. We'll see how that team does. Of course, Cat, tough year for him. Everybody's, pretty much rooting for him this season, I would say. And hoping he does well. I hope Cat does well. I hope the Timberwolves do well. Y'all deserve it. Y'all have had kind of a rough going past couple years. Pretty much since KG left. Then K-Love left. Hopefully Cat doesn't leave. And if Anthony Edwards turns out, I don't think he will. You also got D-Loading, so let's see. I'm in your dang Wolves fans. Hope y'all do well. Hope Ant-Man can continue to play like this. Because that'd be great for the league, great for y'all. Even though the West is kind of stacked, as we all know. Yeah, what else can I talk about? Got 2 minutes left here. Nets, I was talking about them. Kyrie and KD have been up to expectation. They've lived up to the billing. They've been great as a duo so far. And I think they're the best team in the East as long as they can keep Kyrie in good Kyrie mode, mindset, whatever you want to call it. Kyrie stays in line like he is right now. Then the Nets are going to be fine. And they may be playing for the NBA Finals against... we'll see. The West, you never know. Of course, it looks like the Lakers right now, but it's the NBA. Anything can happen. Especially with the parity back in the league, and there's truly no real dominant team. So, plenty can happen. Though, Nets look very good, looking like the best team in the East, even though they lost to the Hornets yesterday. Okay, now, sliding over to the NFL. Let's see. Saints took on the Vikings. They win 52-33 on Christmas. And one heck of a Christmas it was for Alvin Kamara. 22 carries, 155, 6 touchdowns. Most in almost a century, I think is what they said. Incredible game for Kamara. He put up 58 fantasy points. So Congratulations to whoever has Alvin Kamara and you were in the championship game. Congratulations on winning your league. Because I don't think anybody's coming back from a 58-point deficit. Unless the rest of your team just completely folded. You should have it in the bag. Saints moved to 11-4. I think they've clinched the playoffs. They've clinched their fourth straight NFC South title. So, good stuff there. Kamara ties the record. Great season for Alvin Kamara, by the way. Not just in this game. He's had a great rebound season. Really, really deserving of that contract he got. So, yeah. Shout out to AK-41. Bucks and the Lions. Tom Brady. 22 for 27, 348, 4 touchdowns. Need I say more? Mike Evans had 10, 181, 2. Bucks clinch a playoff spot. The Patriots got eliminated same week. We'll see how Bill and them feel about that. We kind of expected it, though, let's be honest, looking at those two teams after Tom left. But, yeah, Tom, big game against the Lions, completely dominated. They look great. We'll see if the Bucks can win again. We'll see how many of the people they play. Still some playoff spots to be fought for. And what was I going to say? Yeah, we'll see if they can help build some momentum. A lot of people had them as championship favorites or Super Bowl contenders going in. We'll see if they can continue to live up to that. They are 10-5, so we'll see if they can go 11-5. 49ers beat the Cardinals 20-12. Kyler got just not a great game for the Cardinals. All I really got to say about that one. Shout out to the 49ers for getting the win, though. Their defense played great. I absolutely fear for the Cardinals' life if Nick Bosa had been healthy, because that might have gotten even uglier than it was. Dolphins beat the Raiders. FitzMagic came back in for Tua and made an improbable, if I can find a picture of it, I'll pop it up right here. Absolute insane throw from Fitz. And yeah, that was pretty much the highlight of the game. FitzMagic, 9 for 13, 182, and 1 touchdown when he came in. Made a world of difference. Myles Gaskin had a great game. 14 and 87 rushing. He had 5 receptions, 82, and 2 touchdowns receiving. So great game for the Washington alum. And yeah, the Raiders, like I said last week, they are the epitome of an 8-8 team. They are the epitome of an 8-8 team. And once again, they are the epitome of an 8-8 team. I think they win next week, so they can fulfill the prophecy I put upon them. But yeah, the Dolphins are 10-5, by the way, which is kind of wild to think about, because even though I've noticed them playing well, they still don't feel like a 10-5 team. But they have the same record as the Buccaneers, to put it in perspective. So shout out to Brian Flores. He's got to be in Coach of the Year conversations, in my opinion. Cowboys get it done against the Eagles, 37-17. Worst division in football, back at it again. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the Cowboys have a chance in the division. We are 6-9. But thanks to this being the worst division in football, and the Giants and the Redskins losing, and of course us eliminating the Eagles, we have a chance, ladies and gentlemen. You know, at one point in the season, I was like, yeah, top 10 pick. This top 5. I went up to top 5. I said this top 5 pick is going to hit different. But now we might make the playoffs. So I'm very confused. Has a top 10 pick ever had, has a playoff team ever had a top 10 pick? Would that be possible still? I don't know if that'd be possible. A lot of teams have been really bad this year. But we might be one of the highest picking playoff teams if we do make the playoffs. And that is, of course. But I mean, it's the NFC East. I still don't know if I'm sure if any of us really deserve to be in the playoffs. But, hey, Cowboys fans, we might make it, baby. We might make it. Chiefs beat the Falcons. It was a very ugly game. Not much to really talk about there. Younghoe Koo, been one of the best kickers, if not the best kicker in the league this year. Missed the field goal to lose the game. Well, to tie the game. It would have tied the game, but he missed it. So that was kind of shocking. Had an ugly looking, and again, I was watching that game. I said I was talking about my field goal curse. My bad, Falcons fans. My curse, plus y'all Atlanta sports fans, see, he was doomed from the start. Once again, I tuned into that game because the Red Zone, shout out to the Red Zone channel, missed field goal. Yes. I'm going to take a water break. Shout out to Deer Park, of course, unofficial water sponsor. I'm going to take a little water break before I get to that. This next game on my docket here. The New York Jets beat the Cleveland Browns. This should have been the torch passing of teams that are absolutely terrible, right? Should have been the Browns handing the torch of mediocrity and being a laughingstock off to the Jets. As the Browns continue to ascend into playoff territory and the Jets continue to descend into mediocrity and doom and all things bad. But no, the Jets didn't want the number 1 overall pick. So, like I said last week, the Jets don't know how to tank. They can't even tank right. And have decided to win their way into keeping Adam Gase. What are we doing? Once again, what are we doing, Jets? What are we doing? Maybe Sam Darnold isn't the problem. And I didn't think he was completely the problem anyway. But now you're winning, you're going to mess around, and you're going to end the season strong. And the front office is going to think Adam Gase is actually an NFL head coach. And y'all are going to keep Adam Gase. You played yourself. Congratulations to Jaguars fans, though, on getting Trevor Lawrence. But Jets, what are we doing? What are we doing? This is also straight pain for Bengals fans, by the way, because that means that Penei Sewell, I guess, goes to the Jets, even though you have Mekhi Beck. Listen, what are you doing, Jets? What is the? I have no idea what the plan is here. I have no idea what y'all planning to do. Maybe they pick Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. I don't know what they're doing. But at that point, do you want them or do you want Sam? There's so much. How do you go 0-13 and not get the first overall pick? That's my question. Jets, what are we doing? What are we doing? Once again, another week of me saying, Jets, what are we doing? You can't even lose right. And congratulations on keeping Adam Gase. Because apparently, I'm so sorry, Jets fans. I'm so sorry. Speaking of the Jaguars, congratulations to them. They chose to get slaughtered by the Bears this week, so they clinched the first overall pick. I don't know why I almost started speaking in a British accent there. Montgomery has scored in, I think, 6 straight games, so shout out to David Montgomery. He's playing great right now. DJ Chark had that great catch for the Jags, I saw. So a lot of good stuff for Trevor to be playing with next year. A lot of good weapons. Of course, J-Rob, he didn't play in this game. So a lot of good stuff on that offense for the Jaguars. Looking kind of promising next year. A lot of stuff for him to play with. Of course, they'll be making more moves, I'm sure, to build around Trevor Lawrence this offseason. But congratulations. As I posted on TikTok, this is very much so Jaguars after, they got that first overall pick after they took this massive L against the Bears, a much needed L against the Bears. In the words of George W. Bush, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Steelers beat the Colts late. Another team that might be in the market, should be in the market for a quarterback, is the Steelers. Ben is done, but he did enough to get the win here. 34 for 49, 342, 3 touchdowns. So shout out to Big Ben. Look reminiscent of old Big Ben and not Big Ben this year. Big win though for the Steelers. They moved to 12-3 and finally clinch the AFC North Championship. Jonathan Taylor had 2 touchdowns, so big ups to them there. Colts, I think, will be fine. Still should make the playoffs if they haven't already. And we'll see if they end up making a rematch here. I could see it happening. But Steelers win this round late, so big shout out to them. Juju continues to dance, not on the field, but in the locker room after a win in celebratory form. I'm all for that. Fight on. Steelers get the win and clinch the division. The division mate, the Ravens beat the Giants 27-13. The Ravens are looking like they're back, ladies and gentlemen. Skid over. Bengals beat the Texans 37-31. The Texans have been. Listen, man, it's just been pain. It's just been pain. It's been a painful year for Houston Texans fans. Just absolute pain. Just pain and more pain, followed by pain. It's just pain. Just pain. They lost to the Bengals at home. Even though there's no fan. I mean, still, you lost to the Bengals at home. Deshaun Watson once again puts in a great performance in a loss. 24 for 33, 324, and 3 touchdowns. That's been the story of his year. Chargers beat the Broncos. Herbert breaks the touchdown record for rookies. He's going to break all of the records for rookie quarterbacks. Probably Offensive Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. Let's see. Panthers beat the Washington football team. Dwayne Haskins is terrible. He did go to the strip club and live it up, though. So, priorities. What a bust. Even I missed on him a little bit. I thought he was going to be at least a pretty good quarterback. But he's just been one of the worst starting quarterbacks. Even if you want to qualify him as a starting quarterback at this point. Because he's really been a backup most of the season. Haskins, terrible performance once again. 14 for 28, 154, 2 interceptions. God knows he didn't throw any touchdowns. Haskins sucks. And, of course, as a result, they left the door open for the Cowboys to take the NFC East. Yes. What's next? Seahawks beat the Rams 20-9. Big win for them. Big win for us and them. They've been on a little skid. The Rams have been hot. And, of course, this was pretty much like the NFC West. If you want to make it a championship game, it was pretty much the closest thing we'll get to a NFC West division championship game. And Seahawks get it. They clinch. 20-9. Good win for the Seahawks. Hopefully they can build some momentum heading into the playoffs. The Packers dominate the Titans, surprisingly to me, in the snow, 40-14. Devontae Adams, 11 receptions, 142, 3 touchdowns. Huge game for him. Derrick Henry, not his finest, even though he still ended up with 98 yards on 23 carries. Thought he would have a much bigger day, especially in the snow. You would think they'd run more, but the Packers defense did a phenomenal job shutting down Derrick Henry. And, props to them. Big one for the Packers. They're 12-3. I think they're currently the number 1 seed in the NFC. We'll see if they can hold that down and get the win next week to clinch and get that bye. Of course, there's only one bye in the playoffs this year, so important stuff. Playoff position this year. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally reached the Roundup. Yes, we have reached the Roundup. And really just kind of some stuff to look out for and some stuff to talk about here. Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell's on Saturday. So Combat Sports, you noticed there was nothing of that this week for the first time in a long time. It returns next week. Garcia versus Campbell. I really don't know who to pick here. I'm probably not going to do a prediction, actually. I will say I'm rooting for Ryan Garcia just on the fact that everybody wants him to lose because he knows how to market himself. And people are upset he has a social media following and presence. And people that upsets people for some reason. So for that sort of reason, I kind of want to see King Rye win. But Luke is a good dude, good boxer. I can very easily see him win. It'll be a good fight. I'll definitely be tuned in. PSG in World Soccer News. PSG fires Thomas Tuchel. I think Poch is headed there. A lot of rumors, a lot of smoke coming from the Messi and PSG, the Messi to PSG rumor. A lot of smoke there. Neymar has openly said he wants to play with Messi again. And, of course, as we know, PSG has deep pockets. So it could happen. We'll see. Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, front three looks terrifying and might be one of the best front threes of all time. if not the best front three. Of course, they got to play if it did happen. So before we say anything like that, but be very interesting. Though PSG would definitely need some defense there if they did go with that front three. But yeah, Tuchel, I think he'll be in hot demand. He was a very good manager, but for whatever reason, just couldn't get PSG over that hump. We'll see if Poch, and it's likely, I believe they're going to sign, or yeah, they're going to sign Poch as manager. We'll see if he can prove to be the guy. A lot of people like Poch, very likable dude. Two likable dudes, just two likable managers. In this situation, getting swapped out. We'll see if he can take PSG to that next level. We'll see if Messi and PSG heats up. Now in some high school football, as I am a USC fan, there's been a lot of reports about Race John Davis of modern day, one of the top linebackers in the country, and of course the number one player in the country, Corey Foreman. There's been a lot of talk about those two possibly headed our way. I'll believe it when I see it, but that's very exciting. I do not know how Clay Helton continues to pull it off. Now back to something more local, to the 336. We had some players get elected to the Shrine Bowl here, the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas, North Carolina versus South Carolina. Had some guys get elected to the North Carolina team. Trey Lyles of East Forsyth, quarterback. Rainier Dilforth, of Glenn, headed to Carolina, I believe. And, of course, Peyton Page headed to Clemson of Dudley High School. So, shout out to those three guys. All three great players, seen them before. Phenomenal talents. Got big expectations for them heading on to college and their respective colleges. I'm sure they'll do phenomenal. And hopefully they can put on for the city at the Shrine Bowl. And, yeah. Probably a much longer episode than last week. There was so much to talk about. But, as always, like, share, and subscribe. And without further ado, Ocho signing off.